Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and having a great day. There is a lot to cover, so let's jump into it. To start things off, the first version of Ethereum's Casper upgrade has officially been published. A new version of the code behind Casper, a planned change to the way the Ethereum network reaches consensus, has been published for wider scrutiny by auditors and client developers. Short for Friendly Finality Gadget, FFG is the first iteration of Casper and will possibly be followed by others. Ryan, who is one of the people who is working on this, stated that more than just research team is using the contract now, auditors, client devs, etc. So we wanted to start issuing clearer visioning and channel logs to help everyone stay organized on this. The move signals that momentum is building behind the protocol change as Ethereum software clients can begin scripting the software into their individual coding languages and testing the software. Vitalik Buterin, who created Ethereum, addressed the Casper upgrade at a conference in Toronto last week, calling it hopefully one of the most joyous experiences in Ethereum in a fairly short time. Once implemented, Casper FFG will alter Ethereum software so that updating the blockchain involves a combination of proof of work and proof of stake. The latter employs validators to update the ledger through a voting system within which users, sometimes called stakers, put down deposits of Ether, which they risk losing if they attempt to cheat. This is something actually very interesting. I don't have the entire information on the process of this, but there were a lot of people who were complaining or said that they did not like the idea of Casper's proof of stake because they didn't feel like it was secure enough. So what they ended up implementing or plan on implementing into the system is that the network will be able to tell, and all the other validators on the network will be able to tell if someone is trying to attack the system and trying to either steal from other people or trying to do something malicious, and it will literally burn and or take their tokens away from them. So usually it is in your best interest to do things that are only good and or positive for the network, which is very interesting. This is something that a lot of people were talking about as well. In its initial stages, Casper will retain Ethereum's current proof of work protocol to do most of the heavy lifting, using proof of stake to validate checkpoints periodically. Because the network can only handle so many validating nodes, the minimum deposit will start off at 1,500 Ether or $1.1 million at the current exchange rate. When Ethereum first started talking about initiating proof of stake, and that you must show your stake in the network or how many coins that you have in order to create new coins and validate transactions on the network. A lot of people were trying to figure out exactly how many Ethereum that they needed in order to create coins on the network. And the numbers that was thrown around for a very long time was 1,000 Ether. It seems at this point we now know it is 1,500 Ether. This is significant not because this is such a high number, but because there are a lot of people who are, how do I say this? In order to start validating on the network, you need to have 1,500 Ether on you in the first place. A lot of people are going to start scrambling to get as many Ether as they can in order to start creating new coins on the network, as well as validating transactions. But because so many people, when you do this, you have to lock up your Ether in the network in order to show your stake. Get it? There's going to be a huge shortage of Ethereum floating around when this is finally completed, whenever this ends up finally happening. We've had so much news about this recently. It's going to be a very interesting period, and this is one of the main catalysts that people believe will propel Ethereum's price to kind of skyrocket, because there's not just one person who has 1,500 Ether. There are multiple people, especially if you got into Ethereum very, very early when it was only $1 a coin. You are probably sitting on a large number of Ether at this point, and this is going to cause a huge shortage in the amount of Ether that are floating around, especially because a lot of people, when they end up creating coins, their stake will sometimes just be looped back into another mining pool, which means that even less coins will then be floating around. I like this because we have information about how many Ether it actually takes in order to start doing this. It's $1.1 million. So if you have $1.1 million in Ether, congratulations, because that is the number everyone has been waiting to hear. Next up, so there's a messaging app called Kik, and they've released more information on exactly what they plan on doing with their cryptocurrency. Kik's crypto token, KIN, currently exists as an Ethereum-based ERC20 token, yet CoinDesk recently reported that the company would be moving to a two-chain system whereby the tokens were supported on both the Ethereum blockchain and the Stellar blockchain at the exact same time. But today, I assume they mean yesterday, the Kin Foundation, the nonprofit organization managing the development of Kin, has announced another move, deciding instead to fork Stellar to create its own blockchain. While Kik had first envisioned the two-chain system because it worried about transaction fees on Ethereum, a blockchain that pushed up against its scale when the crypto collectible cat game CryptoKitties went viral, Kik has decided to even Stellar's minimum fees were too much for what the company hopes to accomplish. Because they are a messaging app, they will need something that has no fees at all. For its Kin token, the problem with Stellar is that it costs a tiny amount to make a transaction on that blockchain, and this has to be paid in lumens. Where on Kik's own blockchain, transactions won't cost anything. This is especially important given Kik's goal for its cryptocurrency to facilitate micropayments as small as even a penny or less across the internet more efficiently. The theory is that if these seamless transactions are possible, entrepreneurs will start creating new digital services that encourage transactions between users for things like inexpensive private chats, digital gifts like stickers or gifts, personalized photos, and more. What I'm pretty sure that they're moving towards, if you have used Instagram, I think Facebook may have the feature as well. I'm not exactly sure. And there's a lot of video viewing apps. I can't really explain like what it is. Kind of like live feed where you can see someone going about their day. You can give people like little gifts. You can give them like balloons and stars and all this other stuff. So I assume that Kik, I don't use Kik, I assume this is what they're going to be leaning towards. In order to send all of this stuff, you need to have some type of free transaction, because no one is going to tip or send someone else money if they have to pay a fee in order to send them this, especially if Ethereum does happen to get backed up once again. No one's going to try and send someone a gift of $3 when the network fees ended up costing them $25. I think it's interesting that they also plan on forking another blockchain instead of creating their own, but I guess it is probably easier in the long run. So there we go. I have my own opinions on John McAfee, but I thought this was quite interesting what he said. Ethereum's price, so this is going back to a couple days ago. Ethereum's price dropped over the weekend as rumors spread about the SEC holding a hearing to declare top currencies Ethereum and Ripple as securities. They stemmed from an article by the Wall Street Journal about the convening of regulatory authorities, the SEC and the CFTC, to discuss the status of Ethereum and Ripple as non-compliant securities. The declaration of these coins as security will have an impact on their usage and prices, as exchange desks will be forced to remove these or must pay steep fines. This would also undoubtedly hinder adoption. This entire thing with the SEC and Wall Street Journal never ended up happening. And I don't know why the Wall Street Journal even reported that it was going to happen, unless they know something that we do not. John McAfee, a popular influencer in the cryptosphere, spoke about these rumors on the status of Ethereum as a security, saying that fish will ride bicycles before Ethereum is declared a security. He also spoke about how Bitcoin was out of their realm. He stated, "The SEC made us fear Ethereum because Bitcoin was so obviously just a currency and out of their realm. They want to crush crypto, so the only way to scare us is to frown at Ethereum. The legal field is clear. Fish will ride bicycles before Ethereum could be called a security." This has been a something that has gone around for quite some time, and a lot of people I see you in the comment sections below also talking about this. It's clear at this point that not to talk down about any institution and or higher up authority, governments do not know what to do with cryptocurrencies. They are honestly perplexed at this point because they are so used to some type of centralized governance where there's one place, one street where you can get this information and or get this asset, and anything that is out of this framework, they cannot understand it. And this is why a lot of people believe, I hate the word FUD, but they believe that they're trying to spread misinformation about Ethereum or any other cryptocurrency about them being a security, about them being this, simply to get people to be afraid of the system. Interesting to see that a lot of other people are finally talking about this as well, because we've been talking about it for quite some time, and I think it's inherently wrong what is happening with the misinformation that's being spread by news agencies and by governments about what cryptocurrencies are, what they do, and what they are used for. Especially a day or two ago, I can't remember this guy's name for the life of me, where he said dealing with Bitcoin is like dealing with harvested organs or something like that. It's kind of out of control what they're trying to do so hard in order to gain or regain and contain their control of the current system. I'm kind of sick of it because I would like to just jump 10 years into the future to see exactly where cryptocurrencies are, because I think we have a bright future ahead of us. Continuing on, I don't hate IOTA. I just didn't like where the project was in the very beginning of their existence, but I thought this was actually pretty cool, so I'm going to talk about it. The IOTA Foundation recently hired Michael Niles as its new board of director and entered into a business alliance with Schilder Group, which is something very big. I'm sure you've all seen it around, actually. Michael Niles is an advocate and an early adopter of the industrial internet who has been on the learning curve of deploying smart, connected, and data-driven capabilities. He is also an advisory board member for IOTA since March of last year. The IOTA Foundation is located in Germany and is a formal non-profit organization. The founders designed IOTA to be an open source, free to use, and led by an independent and neutral non-profit entity that would bring government and industries together. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Schilder manufacturers, they have installs, services, and modernizes elevators, escalators, and moving. I'm pretty sure if you've ever been in an elevator or a building anywhere, if you look down and look at the name of the people who made it, it has probably been Schilder. These products are found in every type of building. It operates in over 1,000 branch offices and has branches in over 100 companies. On March 20th, the Schilder Holdings held its annual general meeting of shareholders, where Niles was successfully elected as a new member of the board of directors. That is kind of crazy, which was initially proposed in January of last year. Niles also became a member of the board supervisory and strategy committee. Niles will have a main influence voice on how Schilder's digital strategy will work on the Internet of Things activities. That is actually massive. I don't know if I would call this a partnership. I guess it says an alliance right here, but this, I believe, at some point could probably be a lot bigger than a lot of people are actually understanding, because a partnership or an alliance with something as big as the people who make elevators and escalators and other things that are inside of buildings will have some type of a ripple effect across the network when other people see exactly that IOTA has merged with them, or they are using each other in some sort of way. And this is what I think could be the catalyst for IOTA actually being integrated into televisions and washing machines and all the other things that they plan on being integrated into. Like I said, I don't hate IOTA. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not at all. Very good job, IOTA. Very good job for the team. It's exciting to hear that cryptocurrency is spreading the way that it is. Waves, surprisingly, is once again in the news. I think we spoke about them a day or two ago. Spoke about how they're barely in the news. The CEO of Waves recently had a talking, spoke about things that are going on in the cryptocurrency universe. In an effort to simplify things, Sasha Ivanov, who's the CEO of diverse cryptocurrency platform Waves, has weighed in to provide some clarity on what he feels are the three main types of tokens without going into the entire article. He talks about utility tokens, he talks about equity tokens and security tokens, and he says squished between all of these are something called backed tokens. But he says that Waves has made sure that they are excessively compliant and that they will be leading the way when it comes to, I guess, all the regulatory things that are going on. They've made sure that they are not any of the former in a bid to not have to be ruled over by the government. According to the CEO, Waves is prepared to offer a fully compliant solution for equity tokens issuance and trading. He explained, our DEX, I believe this is their decentralized exchange, technically is very well suited for security token support. Private issuance of security tokens is much less regulated. If you whitelist your investors and have a limited number of them, you most probably fall under an exemption with less stringent reporting. Whitelist setup is easy to use easy to execute on Waves DEX, and there are going to be several products launching on Waves with such an approach. I am shocked that Waves is constantly in the news every single day. I guess I think we're at the point where so many other coins are going to be launching very soon, and or updates are coming. And I don't think, not these smaller coins, but the coins that just aren't normally in the news, I don't think they want to be left behind. One of the last things we're going to talk about today, that's a weird photo of him. I'm like smiling right there. Gary Cohn, the former Goldman Sachs executive who led Donald Trump's National Economic Council until last month, weighed in on Bitcoin and blockchain technology on Tuesday. He said, "I'm not a big believer in Bitcoin. I'm a believer in blockchain technology." He then made a bold prediction about the future of the tech, telling the network, that is CNBC, "I do think we will have a global cryptocurrency at some point." Cohn clarified that this global cryptocurrency would not be based on mining costs and costs of electricity and things like that, a reference to the power-hungry mechanism that Bitcoin and other blockchains utilize. He said it will be a more easily understood cryptocurrency that will probably have some blockchain technology behind it, but it will be much more easily understood how it's created and how it moves and how people can use it. He was questioned by the Goldman Sachs decision last week about launching their own Bitcoin futures trading desk, and he said, look, they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever's in their shareholders' best interest. When higher up start talking about a global cryptocurrency, there's a not a conspiracy theory video going around, but there is one, of course, when it comes to cryptocurrencies. There's one that's going around talking about that Trump actually said something about a one world currency and people didn't get it, and it was like a 35-minute video about how Ripple is actually the one world currency and it was going to go to $5,000 a coin. It was kind of crazy. So when news like this comes out, it does not help any of the theories that are going on, especially someone who has worked for the president of the US who's talking about a global cryptocurrency. But we're all fairly certain. I give it 10 to 15 years. I want to say 10 to 15 years. There will probably be some type of digital currency in the US that will other countries will be incentivized to use. I will put it that way. Last thing we're going to talk about is, I'm not going to read through this. My friend sent this to me this morning. I think it is something that everybody should read. It's an article called "Why We Shouldn't Listen to Warren Buffett." It was written by Andrea Bianconi, a writer from Cointelegraph. I'm going to try to remember to put this in the description below for you guys to read it. Over the last couple of days, you may have noticed there's been an avalanche of negative news from bankers and stuff like that. And this is what a lot of people are saying caused this price drop. I personally don't believe it. I don't think many people care. But when it comes to institutional investors, a lot of people look to Warren Buffett. They look to Bill Gates and the other guy whose name I will never remember at this point. And they look to them for information because of their standing in the financial world. So this is a very interesting thing to, I hope you guys, if you guys have 5-10 minutes, it's literally a quick read, but it's very interesting to see exactly what this person has to say. And I agree with them 100% because we give so much energy to negative news when it comes to cryptocurrencies. If you've been in cryptocurrencies for a while, more than a year, year and a half, 2 years, 3.5 years, you have been around for some of the worst news that we've had in the cryptocurrency space. People who despised Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and made fun of us. And I mean, literally made fun of us on the news with like jokes and stuff like that and props. They now love cryptocurrencies. They now talk about how it's great, how they're integrating it, how they think it's amazing. And this is kind of what's happening now. These are the last dominoes that have to fall before we can dominate the world, if you will, or begin our course for world dominations when it comes to cryptocurrencies, because we know that it's going to happen. The fact that it's being integrated into so many things, the New York Stock Exchange, all these other NASDAQ, it's absolutely, it's clear to us because we are in the market and we understand at least basics of what things are. So make sure to, if you have some time, to read this because it is quite interesting. And like I said, I do agree with it. Lastly, a number of people in the comment section, I do read your comments all the time. You see I comment back to some of you guys. Have noted that my videos have gotten too long because I used to post, I think, 4 or 5 minute videos. My videos are longer now for a couple of reasons. One, there's a lot more news. I don't know if you've noticed in the older videos, there was maybe 2 or 3 things happening per day because the market was down. As the market is not down, there's a lot more news, and I post more during the day because we have about 35 different things that are happening, and I want to give you this news. And it's also a lot more comfortable for me because I am not in the mood to speed talk or rush through 4 articles in 3.5 minutes just to make a couple of people more comfortable. I don't know if I have some type of speech impediment. I honestly don't know. But when I speak too fast, it actually causes me to trip over my words, and it's not good, especially when I'm trying to give you guys news. And even before, when I was giving news, you may have noticed I was like briefly skimming over things, and it causes me to not be able to give you the proper news of what's going on. There's a difference between me giving you guys news and just kind of saying, oh yeah, Ethereum has something new going on, and then clicking over to the next tab, as opposed to being able to read through it, because a lot of people do listen to these as podcasts, as they're walking around, as they're on the train, as they're going to work, as they're sitting at home drinking coffee. And it's a bit better just to give the entire news as opposed to, just a paragraph and a half and then kind of moving on. So this is the reason why the videos are longer. If I apologize, not really. If you don't really like the longer format, it's more comfortable for me, and I know a lot of other people like it as well, especially when you want the news. I don't know what to say besides that, but this is why the videos have gotten longer, because we are in a more or less bullish market right now, and everyone is trying to figure out what exactly is happening in the cryptocurrency space. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for this video. As always, thank you guys for all of the support. I hope you guys have a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. Thank you for everything, and I will talk to you all soon. See you.